welcome back to my channel. So today's video, I wanted to talk about bullet journaling and how you can do it in a notebook, and specifically speaking, one notebook or across several notebooks. So I got this question a month ago. I asked on my community tab what you guys were interested in seeing next. And so I haven't had a lot of time to film, and for that, I do apologize. My son's had a lot of stuff going on. My family's had a lot of stuff going on. So that's why the delay, but nonetheless, I took the time to basically put together a couple of sample pages, and also I'm going to be sharing with you two of my current bullet journals and also a previous bullet journal. So let's get straight into it. Let's not waste any more time. So the question is always present. A lot of people always like the idea of a bullet journal, but they have this perception that you have to make a bullet journal really pretty, or it has to be aesthetically pleasing and all of these things. And it took me a while to kind of push away from that, because I too fell into the thought process of needing to have cover pages and needing to have trackers and also an index. And although these things are lovely to have, they aren't realistic for a lot of us, especially those of us who are busy, who work a busier life, and just want something that is curated personally for us. So I took time to set up this little, and actually I didn't really set this up. This is just a old Moleskine book that I basically just had lying around, and I just took some time while my son was napping to set it up. So the three questions you need to ask yourself when you're trying to decide on what kind of notebooks and what you will be planning, you need to ask yourself these three questions. What do you like? Do you like a small notebook like this? Do you like something more of a B6 slim size? Do you want something super chunky or small and petite like this? Do you want something that's A5? What do you want? Do you want grid? Do you want line? Do you want blank? These are questions that you have to ask yourself when you're trying to curate a planner out of one book. What do you like and what do you want? Because all of this will account in how you use it and what kind of information you're going to be able to get in it. Obviously speaking, with blank notebooks, the options are endless because you have a blank slate. But keep in mind that you're going to be drawing and curating everything from scratch with no grid, no spacing to guide you. So everything will come straight from the mind, unless you have a couple of templates. And I do have some ideas on how you can get that. Okay. So the next question you want to ask is, what do you need? What do you need in your planner that is going to help you stay in this one book? So if you are someone who is desiring to stay in a planner for an entire year and you just want to plan in this one book and nothing else, then ask yourself, what do you need? Do you need a monthly? Do you need a daily? Do you need a weekly? Do you need a weekly with notes? Do you need trackers? What exactly do you need in your planner? And then that will help you decide whether or not you need something small and petite like this, or whether or not you need something a little bit bigger and robust like this, or so have you. Keep in mind that you don't have to necessarily plan in notebooks. You can also bullet journal and ring bound planners, and I have done that in the past. And in a future video, I'll probably show you how you can do that. I think I do have one somewhere on my channel where I bullet journaled in a pocket rings planner. So the possibilities are endless. I just want to keep reiterating that, because I just want you to know that you're not limited to just notebooks, okay? And the last question you want to ask yourself is, what is it for? What do you want to use this planner for? I know this is a very vague question, because we all want to use a planner for life, right? The whole purpose is, generally speaking, keeping our life in order, keeping everything that we want to accomplish, our goals, our personal needs, our family needs, all of that stuff in order, right? But you need to understand, what do you actually need it for? Because planning is one thing, but planning for success is another thing. So do you want this planner to strictly be for work, or do you want this planner to be for your personal life? Or are you a stay-at-home mom like myself and you just want to keep up to date with appointments and reminders and grocery shopping and household chores? What do you need your planner to be? And if you are someone who just wants to keep everything, you want to keep work, personal, and home life balance all in one book, then ask yourself these questions. These three questions are going to help you curate your perfect bullet journal. And over time, you will continue to tweak and take away, because life changes, our needs change, and over time, what we like changes. But keep in mind what your core value of planning is. If you can understand what you want, what you need, and what you like, then all of these things will correlate and they will all flow easily from planner to planner, whichever you choose. Okay, so let's get into this little example. I'm going to zoom you guys in just a little bit more. So for a monthly, now I have keep in mind, this is a blank Moleskine cahier. So my spreads are basically just free flow. But what I like to do with books like this is I like to get a grid piece of paper and I like to stick them right behind, especially if the paper is thin. And this allows me to have somewhat of a guide. With thicker paper, not so much, because you're not going to be able to see through it. But the Moleskine cahier has fairly thin paper, so I like to use a little grid sheet to kind of guide me. Another thing you can use are stencils. I don't have any stencils of this particular size, but you can use any stencils that have monthlies, weekly layouts, trackers, all of that type of stuff. You can use some stencils to help build your planner, which will benefit you because it'll save you time, right? And you can find a lot of stencils. I had someone ask me that. You can find a lot of them on Amazon and a few Etsy shops that make them. You can find them there too, but for more of a convenience, I would say go to Amazon. Okay, so planning in something small. Now, you don't necessarily have to plan it in something small to get this layout. This is a simple monthly layout. Now, I basically just threw a bunch of stuff in here randomly. I took stuff from this current month and just threw it in here. I know things will look skewed and yeah, it will look a little skewed, but I wrote a lot of reminders in here because I wanted to basically talk about this. So this is a monthly layout that you can not only use in something like this, but you can use it in any bigger planner. I chose to show you in a smaller version because a lot of people like something that is more portable and more compact. So if you're using something like a field notes, which this would be considered, or a passport, or even just a B6 or B6 Slim or A6 even, something like this, like a calendar like this, is more convenient than trying to scrunch your calendar all together in the middle, which is what I think a lot of people tend to do. Is they tend to scrunch their calendars in the middle so that way they have sidebars. You don't have to do that. You can definitely take up this entire space if need be. That way you don't have any sidebars, but you have bigger boxes, or you can take up one entire page and then half or part of another. So this is just one monthly idea. Another monthly idea, which you can also do in a bigger bigger journal is you can do a monthly like this, in this landscape kind of a view, and you can have your weekends together like this. I chose to show an example like this because a lot of people don't have things going on the weekends, so they technically just want to see their Mondays through Friday, but still have their weekends visible for reference purpose. So this is good for people who work a 9 to 5 or any job really. This is a good layout for them if they're planning in something small. And like I said, not necessarily something small, but just something more compact. Okay. And then you can do whatever you choose to do with this space. I just randomly threw in, maybe you want to have a habit tracker for house stuff or work stuff, and then you can track it here. Or maybe you want to have this section dedicated to fully notes, or if you want to do the tracker and notes, it's an option for you. So this is a weekly spread that should be familiar to some of you if you followed me for quite some time. This is a week spread across 2 pages with notes, trackers, and meals. Okay, so I did this layout in my A6 bullet journal last year, and it was very successful for me. Doesn't work as well in this size because this is a lot smaller than A6, but it is very, very doable. So if you're someone who doesn't have exactly a lot going on for your week, you can literally just snippet shot information in these smaller boxes. You can write some notes, and then you can set up your trackers as you would for your monthly. So instead of having a monthly tracker, you could do a weekly tracker where you have things that you could be tracking either for work that week, home life, medications, what have you, and then all of your meals or whatever you want to track. Another weekly spread is the week on 1 page with notes. This is infamous because it's similar to the Hobonichi. It's also what a lot of people are using and what a lot of people like. I think this is the most efficient layout because you have this whole page to basically do your weekly plans, and then you have another page to take down your weekly notes. So all of your information is not being scrunched up. So if you want to take space and do a tracker, you can definitely, do a tracker in here. You can make it efficient. You can use all of the space. That's why this layout is most beneficial versus scrunching everything together like this layout here. Okay. So daily pages are another thing that people like to have in their planners. And although my daily planning is basically just, keeping what the day's date is, the weather, my daily to-do list and notes, a lot of people like to use a schedule. I am not one to do a schedule in my bullet journals. I just kind of free flow. I do a schedule in my main planner, but it is not numbered, so I can put the numbers in it, and that's what I like. But for all of you who like to keep some sort of a schedule, you can do a schedule down the side, and you can do your to-do list next to it. These are days on 1 page, so you can do this. There's several different ways that you can set up a daily page. I'm just basically showing you what I would have done if I was using this because again, I want to make it as realistic and as easy as possible for those of you who just want some sort of direction or an idea even to how you can utilize your own bullet journals. So you can do this. You can even do this. This is something I did in an A5 journal. Also a Moleskine that was blank. You can have your top 3. And then you can do a slight mood tracker, and then you can do your notes here. You can do your to-do list, and you can even break it up into having a schedule down at the bottom if you so choose. If that is too much of a cluster for you, then you can turn it to the landscape way and you can plan this way. You'll maximize the space in its entirety, especially for something this small, but keep in mind that every time you go to plan, you'll have to turn your book. So if that is going to frustrate you, then I wouldn't necessarily pick a layout like this. The most beneficial layout to me in a book like this is a page on 2. or a day on 2 pages. Reason being is because if you want to have a schedule, you can use this whole page to make your schedule. And then you can use the next page to write your to-dos, your notes, your things like that. So this is the most beneficial way to basically get your information for the day if you're using a daily. All right. So this was one way that you could plan. Those were a couple of examples given that's how you could basically use your bullet journals if you want to stay in one book. Now this is a bit of a chunkier book, and I'm going to show you some ideas in here and hopefully inspire you to start. So this is a bullet journal from 2020, I believe. It's very old. That's all I know. So again, this is a lined book. So I'm showing you from blank and lined. This is a lined book, and you can definitely draw out a month like this. You can have a month on one page. You can even do your weeklies like this, where you break them into sections. And so you have one section where it's like Monday through Sunday, you have a to buy, you have your master to-do list. This is something that I used to do a lot back in the day. I used to do one master to-do list for the week, and then I would take from that list and distribute throughout the week. Or throughout the days of the week, rather. So all of these weeks are together up front, hence the tab which says weekly. And then this was how I did my daily. So I did a day on 2 pages, or 2 days on one page. And so basically it's split up into boxes, and then you have your to-do list, you have your top task, and then you have a small section for notes. And this is also beneficial if you don't have a super duper busy life, but you still want to be functional, you still want to get all of your information written down. You can do it like this as well. Even though it seems like you're not allotted a lot of space for the day, you can do something which is called threading your pages. So if you don't pre-set up your bullet journals, which I kind of like to do 1 month at a time, but if you don't pre-set up your bullet journals, what you could do is you could go to the next page and you could essentially write any information that you wanted to, and then you can pick back up your bullet journaling with the next week or the next day. So, and then also you can use sticky notes, and you can tip in paper and all of that stuff. I'm trying to give you as much of an idea as to how you can utilize one book and maximize that book by using other things like tip-ins, different kinds of layouts, and things like that. So this is just, again, like I said, the daily spread. Let's see, some other things you could add in here are trackers. So if you're someone who wants to add trackers to your bullet journal, this was a sleep tracker, and this is generally what I did. So if I was setting up a new month, I would count out how many pages I needed for the week. I would count out how many pages I needed for the day, and then whatever was left, I would add whatever I wanted to. So if I wanted to do a tracker for that month, then I would just add my tracker. And you just keep going until the book is completely finished. But if you are trying to utilize just this one book for the year, then it's going to be beneficial to you to go through and number how many pages you're going to expect to use for each month, and then pre-set up your month in its entirety, so that way you have a visual and a general idea of how many pages you're using per month. So there's no confusion between how many pages you'll go through, because you already preset it up, so you know how many pages you're going to be using for that month, if that makes sense. So yeah, these are just some things that you could add into your bullet journal, especially with tracking. If you want to do tracking, I would say do monthly trackers over like daily tracking and stuff, because this is just gonna minimize, like the space, like putting trackers in your weekly, that takes up space. So try to do a monthly tracker instead. That way you have it on one page, and then you can just keep your weekly spreads fresh and clean for your information that you want to put in there. So that's another way. And then this is a daily. So if you want to do a day on one page, this is a daily with a schedule, a to-do, notes, and a tomorrow section, which I did not utilize for this particular time. But yeah, these are just general ways in which you can plan and so on. So I'm just giving you a couple of ideas here for how you can maximize your planning if you want to use one book. I know the question was, if I can remember, they were asking me, like, how do you plan in just one book? I believe they had a astrology. You can do these same spreads in astrology. You can do them in a Leuchtturm. You can do them in a Moleskine. You can do them in a cheap Mead notebook or 5-star notebook. You can do them in whatever you have available to you or whatever you're using at the current time. These are just ideas, and hopefully they can inspire you. I'm going to save the next 2 bullet journals and put them in another video because I'm running out of time here. But I wanted to thank you guys, and hopefully I inspired you. Hopefully I answered the question that was asked, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.